And there is plenty to talk as we end this week, and many people have a long holiday weekend ahead. So let's talk about what's coming up in this first hour together. We're going to go ahead and dive right in here. We have, and I'm so honored that we have, the chairman of the Veterans Memorial Committee of Arlington Heights, who's going to be on with us today as we take time to remember what is really the true reason for this holiday weekend, and that is to pay tribute to our fallen heroes. And he's going to be zooming in right around 1:30 to talk about what they're gearing up to do to honor our heroes coming up shortly. Also, the last time we caught up with Robert Ray from Fox Weather, just a few weeks ago, he was covering snow in Colorado. Today, he is marking the anniversary of the devastating and deadly tornado that tore through Joplin, Missouri. If you recall, back in 2011, we're going to see what things look like now. We'll hear more about the journey that so many people have had to endure over the last 15 years. Really can't believe it's been 15 years. Still remember all of those images of just, damage and destruction galore there. So it will be very interesting to see how people picked up the pieces and tried to get back on their feet after just a horrible, horrible tornado that tore through their area. So those things are ahead. Let me go ahead and mute this for you. And we're waiting momentarily. We should have the CEO of Hooters. A big first statement for the show in the world of fast food, and that is that Hooters is trying to rebrand. So we're gearing up for all of those conversations straight ahead in this hour. But while we wait, I will let you know that we have our chopper on the way to the possibility of a barn fire that we're hearing about. As soon as we get more information about that, we will let you know what's going on with that. And let me just kind of get you up to date on a couple of other things that are trending right now on our site. We have a big story from yesterday. A Chicago police officer hospitalized after a suspect allegedly hit him with brass knuckles. This was a brother and sister duo here. The police officer suffered severe facial injuries after being struck with those brass knuckles. 2 suspects arrested. Again, brother, sister. This was in McKinley Park. The male suspect also faces charges tied to the sex offender registry and weapons possessions. A lot of people have been talking about it. Again, this is on our website right now. You can find this on fox32chicago.com. We are also continuing to monitor a major situation that took place this morning, again, in our law enforcement community. But this in Indiana, where an Indiana sheriff's deputy was shot in the emergency room at Franciscan Hospital. I know it sounds very familiar to many people here in Chicago because a very similar situation played out just last month. We just buried a police officer, Officer Bartholomew, just a few weeks ago, after he and his partner, Officer Crespo, took an offender into the hospital. Somehow that offender was able to get a weapon inside of the hospital and shot the 2 of them. Well, today we have an incident again that's taken place down there in Indiana, and LaPorte County Sheriff's Deputy John Samuelson, we now have his name, was critically wounded after being shot 3 times this morning inside Franciscan Health in Michigan City. They say that he had stopped to help a stranded driver, so he's trying to help somebody, but on the way to the hospital, at some point in time, he caught wind of the fact that that person who was stopped in the vehicle was actually wanted for an earlier crime. That person, 22-year-old Sherrod Grafton Jr., there was some type of altercation that happened between the 2 of them, the sheriff's deputy and this 22-year-old, and Officer Grafton, Deputy Grafton, was shot 3 times. So it is or Samuelson, excuse me, Deputy Samuelson was shot 3 times. So this suspect, Grafton, was arrested nearby in the woods after the shooting. Indiana State Police are leading this investigation. So we've been putting together the pieces of this throughout the morning into this afternoon. Lots of information here online. It's just so sad and disheartening to hear of this happening. But as we get more information, we'll be passing that along to you as well. I do believe that our first guest is here, and I kind of already teed you up for where we're going with this, the rebranding of Hooters. So we have Neil Kiefer, the CEO. Thank you so much for your time.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Tell me a little bit about why rebrand now.
Well, let me I'd be remiss if I didn't give you a little history. We're actually born and bred in Chicago to some extent. 6 of our original founders are all from Chicagoland when they started this in 1983. And we took back the Chicagoland area in 1991 and have 11 Hooters restaurants in the Chicagoland region and 2 Hoots. And by the way, that's the #1 Hooters region in the entire world.
Wow.
We're also 20 plus foreign countries. So what happened when we sold the intellectual property and the rights to the brand 25 years ago, it exchanged hands several times and ultimately ended up in the private equity world, so to speak. And in the last 5 or 7 years, we saw the changes they had made to the brand. And of course, we had sold the brand, but it had upset us in where they had taken the brand, how it deviated from the original concept. So about a year ago, when that company, the private equity owned company, went into bankruptcy, we had an opportunity to take it back. And we just said, you know what, it wasn't so much a monetary thing at our age. Let's get our brand restored the way it runs in Florida and the way it runs in Chicagoland. So in Chicagoland, you're not going to see any changes. Hooters is what it is. And we're quite proud of that. Again, that's the #1 market. So, it was just really this thing. We didn't like our brand being taken the road it was, and we wanted to rectify it.
Well, what was the road that it was going on and that others will see in a change?
Yeah, a couple things. One, they didn't use our original famous sauce. They had used a cheaper version of it. And about 70% of our food items have that unique, craveable sauce on it. And the second thing, most importantly, they had taken the Hooters girls' uniforms, over-sexualized it, I call it. The shorts almost turned into thongs. And frankly, that was never the intent of the brand. This was created in 1983 as an escape or an oasis. It's a beach community. It's a beach theme type of thing here in Clearwater. So that was very upsetting. And of course, today on social media, when you see pictures of people wearing the uniform inappropriately, it affects other markets and affected us. So we just wanted to rectify it, get the brand back to its roots. I call it a re-Hooterization or rebrand. But again, Chicago's been running the same way since 1991 when we opened downtown, and will continue to do so.
Re-Hooterization. Okay. So does that mean longer shorts? What does it mean?
Well, again, Chicago has always had the appropriate uniform, so you won't see any change in there. Yes, and that has already been implemented 5 or 6 months ago. We're only in our 6th month on this journey. And trust me, I have to tell you, to be frank with you, it's difficult to take a restaurant over that has already been run downhill, so to speak, and chased away a lot of their customers. When you go out to eat, if you get a bad experience, you don't go back. So I think they chased away a lot of their local markets in states like Texas and Georgia, upstate Indiana, where we've taken over. So we're bringing all those back. So it's been a little bit overplayed that we're being a family restaurant. We've always been that, okay? But in some of those markets, they weren't anymore. So that's the rationale behind it.
And were they trying to compete with like Twin Peaks and places like that?
Well, I think Twin Peaks was trying to compete with Hooters, and I think the owners that owned the brand during the last 25 years, they thought they had to compete with that. And I have to tell you, in 2024, before they went bankruptcy, our stores in Chicago and in Tampa Bay doubled the other Hooters stores owned by the private equity group in sales. So clearly they were doing the wrong way and chasing away the customer base. They were appealing primarily just to single men. And if you've been in any stores of ours in Chicago, you can see it's a very diverse audience, all ages and sexes.
So will the waitresses still be Hooters girls?
Yes, always will be. We fought that battle in the last century, and it's a bona fide occupational qualification, proved in the Middle District Court of Federal Court in Chicago 25 years ago. So that'll continue. Again, you won't see any changes in the Chicago market at all. Those are the original Hooters stores, and we'll continue to do so because, like I said at the inception, we had a Chicago and Iowa connection for our founders.
But do you here, I mean, I think some people, you mentioned the fact that people are saying like, oh, you know, they're trying to be more family friendly. You're saying we were always family friendly. Some people just took things too far. But I'm sure when people say, oh, they're trying to be family friendly, they're thinking like, well, maybe this is a full like modernization, and like Hooters girls might still kind of feel like an older time and not 2026.
Well, I think that would be up to the individual girl, but you know, we have been this from the inception. I think there in those markets where Hooters was not run properly, there was primarily a male customer base. Okay, if you're aware of and ever been in any of our Chicago stores, you know that's not the case. You know, we have from year one, 1984 actually, we started sponsoring Little League teams because my children were Little League at that time, and soccer. So we've always been involved in the community. It's a neighborhood place where many families choose to frequent. But in those markets where Hooters was run improperly, in our opinion, it became more of a male-oriented establishment.
I have indeed seen children celebrate birthdays in a Hooters before. I have seen that with my own eyes. So
I'm on next door today, actually.
They weren't my children, but I have seen it. I have
Wait a minute.
seen it. So, I mean, are you trying to get then away from like the images and back to the food?
Well, yeah, look, we have, for the first 20 years, we didn't even sell liquor. Hard liquor. We sold beer and wine. And after the turn of the century, we woke up and said we need to serve alcohol, hard alcohol, but 75% to 76% of our sales are food. We are a restaurant, always have been. And those Hooters and other areas that didn't run them appropriately became more of a bar, as I said earlier, and appealed to not a full audience. So we have always been, and again, Chicagoland is our #1 market with 11 Hooters and 2 Hoots up there. Love Chicago, and probably going to be doing another one shortly.
Okay. You want to give us some breaking news? Where?
I can't yet. Okay, I don't want to jinx the deal, but it's a suburban location.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, my ear perked up. I'm like, breaking news. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Tell me this: what is customer feedback like in 2026? What are people asking for from you all?
Well, look, it varies depending on where you live.
Sure.
Okay. If you had been in a rich location in Chicago and Tampa Bay and South Florida, we're just booming. Our sales are up, and it's a very tough time for casual dining, as you can imagine, too, with the gas prices and everything else, because of the political climate and the wars, et cetera. It's a little tough to get to consumers, but we're having a much better this year than last year, and we're slowly winning those markets out. You know, this summer we're having a lot of specials. In fact, we're having a $19.99 crab special that starts in June, and you can buy a pound of Alaskan crab legs in a grocery store for close to that price. So, you know, we're just doing what we always done in Chicago. In your area, you won't notice a difference, and we obviously thank everybody in Chicago for the long-term patronage they've given us.
Okay, well, next time you're up in Chicago, come on by the studio.
You got it. Good talking to you.
All right,
Take
great
care.
speaking with you as well. Everyone, give us 2 minutes and we'll get into our next discussion. Again, we are waiting to see if we get more information about this barn fire possibly in Huntley. The chopper was on its way. So if we get more information, and especially if we get any images of some flames, we will take you there live. Stand by. As you can see, they are still on their way right now again. There was a call of a box alarm there in Huntley for a barn fire that was supposed to be fully involved. So we may get some images very soon, and we'll take you there just as soon as we get them, if we get them. But let's take a 2-minute break, and we're going to get into our next discussion about a somber anniversary, really, for the city of Joplin, Missouri. Welcome back, everyone. It's 1:16 right now, and 15 years ago today, the deadliest modern U.S. tornado devastated Joplin, Missouri. The images are hard to get out of your head. The cleanup process and the recovery overall for that city and the region have been quite a journey. And so let's go right to Robert Ray from Fox Weather, who is there among the community that's coming together yet again, but now to remember that day.
That's the key. Even though a long period of time has passed, 15 years, it's taken time to recover. And you see behind me volunteers with Operation Barbecue Relief. They're out of Kansas City, and they are feeding survivors today and trying to have a joyous occasion. But where I'm standing right now, 15 years ago, I showed up about 2 hours after impact, the EF5, 200 plus miles per hour, raking through here, 22-mile track, about a half-mile wide. And I showed up, and it was just debris fields for as far as the eye could see. Vehicles that were overturned, a hospital in ruin, homes, you didn't even know they were homes. They were so ripped up, businesses destroyed. Search and rescue, car alarms going off, odors like no other, and 161 people that were unfortunately gone. Well over 1,000 people injured, and about 30% of Joplin, which is about 50,000 people, 30% completely devastated, meaning had to rebuild. So it was an amazing, catastrophic, traumatic situation for so many. And like you said, this is the deadliest tornado in modern history. $3 billion is the cost. Any comparisons would be the super tornado outbreak that was also in 2011, a month before, but across 7 states, okay? So this is just one community. The process here of recovery has been long, but I will tell you this, it's pretty unbelievable, and I'm going to ask our camera to go this way and kind of just look in the distance. Everything that you're seeing right now was essentially neighborhood and a hospital. Well, now they are public parks. They are places to, essentially relax and mourn and think about those lives lost. I mean, this is no exaggeration when I say this. There were piles of debris 15 feet plus high. Emergency workers from around the country flocked to Joplin to try and help. It wasn't a day or 2 days of search and rescue. It was more like 2 weeks, searching for miracles underneath the debris. And they did find miracles, but not dozens, So children were lost, elderly, parents, and it changed the community. On top of that, it changed the way forecasting and advance warnings happen, meteorology as a whole. This system, a 22-mile track, came from a supercell in southeast Kansas. And, it just exploded very quickly. And it was rain-wrapped. And it happened on a Sunday at 5:41 p.m., a day that there was high school graduations and also some college graduations. So there were a lot of people out and about. And unfortunately, it came in so fast that many people didn't have time, even though the sirens went off, to get out of harm's way. There's a story that I just have to share with you of a father and his 2 little girls. And they were in the park right across the street here, Mercy Park. Well, it wasn't Mercy Park at the time. It was Mercy Hospital. And they were out there, and the tornado came in, and they couldn't get out of the way. So they went to the ground, the 3 of them. Dad, 2 girls. Dad's shoes were blown off. That's the only thing that happened after the EF5 came. But here's the part that just blew me away, and I think it will you as well. The little girl said, "Dad, did you see the butterflies?" And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean, did I see the butterflies? They're like, "Daddy, butterfly people wrapped around us when the storm came over." That's how we're alive, Daddy. I mean, spiritual, right?
Wow.
There's so many things like that we're hearing from people. And, this is an example of resilience and hope and a community that if you didn't know what happened here 15 years ago, and let's say you drove in, you'd say, there's no way an EF5 tornado came through here. But indeed it did. And it's taken a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
An amazing day here in Joplin, Missouri.
I mean, it's just mind-boggling to really look around you and to think of what that looked like 15 years ago, and just think about the difference today versus then. I remember there was the long search for a baby.
Yeah. The search and rescue just went on for a very long time. You know what? While we're talking about it, do we have time? 'Cause I want to show you something.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Come with me down here. We're going to walk to a placard of all the names of the deceased. I remember when I was here, I showed up 2 hours after I was covering storms in Arkansas. And I actually saw a man be pulled out of rubble that night. Total miracle. He could barely walk his way out. I spent days with wildfire fighters from Oklahoma and California doing search and rescues. They came in and looking for, at that point, deceased, and it was just very traumatic. And this is what I wanted to show you. This is a plaque in remembrance of all the people that died, 161. And these are not just names, right?
Yeah.
These are living souls that walked the earth. There are children on there, elderly. And we have to remember that about these tornadoes. Sometimes we see the tornadoes, we see pictures, we see video, and we're awestruck, right, by the energy, the vortex that comes down from the sky, and we think, my gosh, boy, I can't take my eyes off that. But the real message here is that what these tornadoes create is quite literally life-altering and hell on earth for communities and individuals and families, and we can never forget that. This is a very painful scenario, though the healing is clearly here. I mean, beautiful fountains, parks in the distance for children, and again, to think, rubble this high, maybe higher at points, new homes in the distance.
Wow.
Families that have recovered. Really, the face of resilience is Joplin, Missouri. Truly is.
Goodness, and it's just, you get chills through all of it. I ask you, you go from one part of the country to the next, covering different events. Some of them are deadly, like this was. Some of them that are challenging, but kind of switching your brain from one thing to the next. And you're there covering what was a horrific tornado that, as you said, changed the course for forecasting and so many other things. And yet I'm also seeing here today that, NOAA just put out their predictions for the Atlantic hurricane season. And I'm thinking, you're probably going to be on that next. There's so much going on.
Yeah. There is, and that's the thing about the United States. The U.S. Truly has the most volatile weather patterns in the world, really. We are consistently bombarded by Mother Nature's, I think mania, really, when you think about it. Everything from tornadoes coming down from the sky, to floods, to wildfires, to tropical storms, to hurricanes, to earthquakes, to heat waves, to blizzards. It never stops. There's not a month that goes by without a calamity or a major disaster. And that really is, North American weather. And indeed, the tropical season and NOAA putting out the hurricane forecast. And we hear, that we're going to go and do an El Nino or a super El Nino, which basically means that waters in the Pacific are going to be very warm. There'll be high shear in the air, wind shear over the Gulf and the Atlantic, and that could cut down hurricanes or tropical systems from developing in the Atlantic or the Gulf. But mind you, Hurricane Michael in 2018 was a Category 5 that hit Mexico Beach, Florida, and that was during an El Nino year. Anything can happen.
Wow.
So I think the message for all this is don't let your guard down ever, and pay attention to the warnings. And I don't want to sound like some cliche dude on TV who just keeps talking blah blah. Don't get your guard down. Don't drive into floods. Don't drown. All the stuff that we hear, and I know people are tuning out and they're like, "Oh, be quiet." I've heard that before. But you know what the reality is? Until you get caught in it, then what? Right? It's like anything else. You have to, preserve yourself and make sure that you're there for your family. Whether you have kids or you're married or not, or you just have great friends or anything, you got to be there. You got to live your life, and you don't want your life to be taken by Mother Nature of any sorts.
Yeah,
that's another lesson, right?
Yeah.
That we all think about. And again, I'm not preaching, and I don't want to sound like some jerk on TV, but really, this is from years of experience in the trenches and seeing people in the worst days of their lives and communities in the worst days, and then watch them rebuild and figure out exactly how to wake up in the morning and keep punching.
Like you have there in Joplin. Yeah. And we're just kind of, looking at the clouds behind you. Are they expecting a rain today? Have they already had rain today?
Yeah, we've had it since basically yesterday evening. It stopped a couple hours ago. Nothing dangerous.
Okay.
They'll have some on and off showers throughout the weekend, but nothing that people should be, super concerned about. But, again, we're not out of severe storm season by any means. Remember, I think 2 years ago in June, or maybe it was last year, sometimes it gets a little crazy to put it all together. We had an EF5 tornado up in North Dakota. And so, anything goes.
Yeah.
Anything goes. Tornadoes happen every month of the year, no matter where. And by the way, in every state at some point. That's the other thing that people got to realize. Look at Illinois, right? Illinois this year leads the pack for amount of tornadoes in 2026. I think we're at like 106, something on the lines of that. That's quite uncommon for the state of Illinois. So it just shows you anything goes.
Anything goes. And yes, some people may think it's cliche, but it is correct to be prepared. Thank you. We certainly appreciate it. I'm sure that the people there in Joplin, Missouri appreciate you being there. And thank you for what you do. Be safe.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care. Right, everyone. It's just about 1:30, and goodness, just going from one location of remembrance for a horrible weather event to go to the next event. It has to be a lot on him. And I brought up that hurricane prediction outlook that came up because we did just release that today. Today he's there talking about tornadoes, but NOAA predicts a below normal 2026 Atlantic hurricane season. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who want to breathe a bit of a sigh of relief for hearing that. But right after that, they say early preparation is essential, staying safe all season here, as they predict, yes, a below normal hurricane season for the Atlantic basin. The outlook, which runs from June 1st, so we're coming upon that, to November 30th, predicts a 35% chance of a near normal season, a 10% chance of an above normal season, so it's still a chance, and a 55% chance of a below normal season. And that could be a total of 8 to 14 named storms, which would be winds of 39 miles per hour or higher. Of those, 3 to 6 are forecast to become hurricanes with winds of 74 miles per hour or higher, including 1 to 3 major hurricanes, which would be Category 3, I believe that was Hurricane Katrina, 4 or 5, with winds of 111 miles per hour or higher. So yes, I mean, there in Missouri, the tornado season is top of mind for them today, having thought about what they went through before, what they've come through. For those who typically have to deal with hurricanes during June, July, August, September, November, October and November, this might be a bit of relief, but still a reason to pause. It's about 1:32, everyone, so give us 2 minutes and we'll bring our next guest in. We are going to talk about the heroes among us, and especially the heroes who have fallen, who we remember this weekend. .134 right now, and while there will be plenty of activities happening over this long holiday weekend, never forget the reason why we have a long weekend, why it's Memorial Day. And that is to honor our fallen heroes, those who, we often say that all gave some gave all. We have the chairman of the Veterans Memorial Committee of Arlington Heights, who is here with me right now, Greg Padavani, who is joining me ahead of an activity that everyone can participate in that will also honor those who have sacrificed on our behalf. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Tell me, first and foremost, about the Veterans Memorial Committee of Arlington Heights.
Well, we're the ones that rebuilt our Veterans Memorial here in Arlington Heights. It's a little triangular park just west of the library. It's been in our town since 1872, and it was time for a refresh. And we got together with both the village, the park district, a ton of people, and rebuilt it into a beautiful tribute to our veterans and especially to our fallen heroes, with at the center of it a 15-foot bronze flame. We call it the Eternal Flame.
Why is that important to you?
The flame signifies our eternal remembrance and thanks to the people who served and sacrificed. And at the base of the flame, especially the eastern facing base of the flame, we have an inscription that says, because of our heroes and their families, freedom survives. And at the below that are bricks, commemorative bricks, for all the fallen heroes from our town, the 68 young men who died in military service from the Civil War to Afghanistan, as well as bricks for any KIA from anywhere, commemorated at the base of this flame in with bricks.
That's so awesome what you all have done to remember them forever, to make sure the generations that come well after them will know who they were. Tell me about your service. I see United States Army on your shirt. Did you serve, or did you have a family member who served and thus you wear the shirt?
Yes, ma'am. I served in the United States Army for 12 years, Medical Service Corps. I'm referred to as a Vietnam era veteran because I was in service, but they didn't send me to Vietnam. You go where the Army tells you, and you do what they tell you to do. So I served here in the United States during that time.
Thank you for your service. We appreciate it. And being someone who has served in the United States Army, and you continue to serve in this way with the Memorial Committee, you all put on an annual parade. Give us the details of that.
Here in Arlington Heights, our town has been doing a Memorial Day parade and ceremony for 107 years. We started right after the conclusion of World War I. And every year we have a parade that brings the town together, and it marches through the center of town and goes to Memorial Park, the one we rebuilt, that little triangle park, where we have the Memorial Day ceremony honoring and remembering all of our nation's heroes, but especially Arlington's fallen heroes. And the cool thing about it is the parade has over 2,000 people marching in it. People line the route, 5, 6, 7,000 people. And about 1,000 people come to the ceremony afterwards. But along the route, we have volunteers handing out these signs, Arlington Remembers. In fact, these are actually handed out now in businesses and homes all over our town and displayed. It's the theme or the remembrance of Memorial Day in Arlington Heights. And that in itself is very powerful. But when you turn it over, here's the list, the entire list of the 58 young men from our town from the Civil War through Afghanistan that we want everyone to remember. And these are the names we actually read at the ceremony, including in the Middle Eastern wars. We have a Gold Star wife read those names, Katie Stack, who lost her husband in Afghanistan. He was our last fallen hero in 2010. And actually the final name, James Brack, is read by James' little girl. Well, she was 18 months old when he was killed, which she's now 16, Michaela Stack. She reads her father's name at the ceremony.
Wow. What are moments like that? How do you feel during moments like that?
It's hard to describe the profound emotion because, yes, Katie and Michaela are on stage reading those names. Katie Stack actually reads a special essay she did that's going to be published in the Daily Herald in the op-ed. Every year they do it. It's a Gold Star wife's request for Memorial Day. And it only takes a couple of minutes, but by the time she's finished reading it, there's not a dry eye anywhere. And that's when we begin reading the names. And we toll a bell after each name. And the importance of that is we have a saying or a belief in the military that a soldier can actually die twice. First, when they fall on the battlefield, and second, when their names are no longer spoken. So we have probably 10, 15, 20 Gold Star families present at the ceremony. And I make a promise to them on behalf of the community that as long as one veteran or one patriot lives in Arlington Heights, their sons, their fathers, their grandfathers, their loved ones will never, ever be forgotten, and they'll always be honored as we read their names every year.
I think my hat's off to you all for doing that.
It's the town. It's Arlington Heights. It comes right from the heart of our town. Our honored guests have been through the years just taken by what happens when they ride in the parade in Arlington Heights. I remember Rear Admiral Evans from Great Lakes, the training center up north here, and he and his wife rode through the parade, and it's hard to describe the emotion of people on both sides standing and clapping and yelling thank you, not only to them but all the young men and women that are marching behind them that are active duty Navy and Army. And he shook his head and he said he'd been in the Navy for 35 years and he had never seen a town quite like Arlington Heights. And he said it's like a Norman Rockwell experience that you just have to be there to understand it. And it's true. I experience it now. I've been doing this for 20 years, and it's hard to describe how the hearts of the town are just out there supporting not only our active duty troops, but also our veterans and especially those Gold Star families all over the nation, actually, that have lost someone very loved to them.
Yeah, our Gold Star families, of course, at the center of this weekend, being the living legacies of those we have lost. But I would think that it would also be so encouraging for active duty. I mean, I'm a military brat. My father is now retired, but for active duty service members to see how communities come together and cheer on that type of service and sacrifice.
First, thank you for your father's service.
Thank you.
To our nation. That's important. And you probably saw a lot of things as an Army, was it Army brat?
Air
Navy
Force.
Junior?
Air Force.
Air Force, okay. But the point here is that these people, we remember them, we honor them. The active duty folks, these are all young kids, really.
Yeah.
18, 19-year-olds coming down from Great Lakes who are in their basic training there. But what the chief petty officers who are running that training tell me is that when they get these young sailors back to Great Lakes and they talk to them about the experience of being in Arlington Heights, they say at the end, they say, okay, when you're out in the fleet and you're in harm's way, remember, that's what you're defending.
Yeah.
And they tell me it really hits home to these young people. My gosh, these are the people we're out there in harm's way defending.
Yeah. They are the next generation. Thank you so much for what you do. Again, thank you for your service, but thank you for how you continue to serve in such a special way.
And I add Memorial Day, this coming Monday, May 25th, in Arlington Heights. Everyone is invited to watch the parade. If you're a veteran, let me know, and we'll try to get you a seat on a Jeep or on a trailer so you can receive the honor you're just due. The parade stops off at 9:30, marches through town, and at 11 o'clock, we hold the ceremony. So everyone is invited, so please come on down.
Greg, wonderful speaking with you today.
Thank you so much for this honor.
You take care.
Thank you. You too.
It's 1:45, everyone, and I hope that everyone comes out for that parade. If you can't get to Arlington Heights, there are plenty of other observances that will be happening throughout our area. And if you can't get to any, maybe you can't get out on Monday, just take a moment and think about the families of those who we've lost in service to this great nation. It's 1:45. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's just about 1:50, and I want to go over a few things that we're monitoring right now. One, we could see some activity of, I believe, Marine One, as they are getting up into the air. Not exactly sure where they're headed at the moment, but as we could see takeoff getting ready to happen. Looks like they are in New York right now. So again, as we get more information about maybe where they're headed or what's to come next for the president, we will let you know, kind of looking over his schedule for today. But we had that picture of them getting ready to take off from there and wanted to be able to bring that to you. You know, moments ago we were talking about our heroes, our fallen heroes, and we were speaking more specifically about service members of many generations who we've lost over time, those who have taken on the responsibility and the sacrifice to go serve overseas, you know, in battles and wars and in many conflicts over the years. We also take time today especially to remember the life loss of a hero, a local hero who was a veteran of our fire department. Today we laid to rest Chicago firefighter Stephen Decker. His funeral was earlier today. We have information on our website. I believe he was 61 years old. Served with the department for 30 years and had a medical emergency during a training exercise 2 weeks ago, and that was May 14th when he had that medical emergency there during the training exercise. You just never know. You know, I'm sure it was an exercise he had done many, many times before and didn't sense that was going to be the last exercise that he did among his brothers within brothers and sisters within the department. But today was his funeral, and so we hold in our hearts the families of the Chicago Fire Department. If you really think about it, our law enforcement community, our first responder community has been through quite a bit in the last 2 months. So our Chicago firefighters, they just buried a firefighter today who served 30 years with the department just last month. They lost firefighter EMT Altman, who was a fourth generation firefighter. So, you know, if you think about a department that assembles for an occasion like this to lay to rest someone who has served, many of the same people just had to do that several weeks ago, who gathered again yet today to say goodbye to another veteran, in this case, of the Chicago Fire Department. So we hold them in our hearts today as they laid him to rest. Also, of course, I told you earlier that our first responder community down in Indiana, very tough day for them, as a sheriff's deputy was shot at the emergency room at Franciscan Hospital. A suspect was taken into custody. That suspect connected to Chicago. There's a lot of information online. We've been getting more information about it all day. That LaPorte County Sheriff's Deputy John Samuelson is his name, and I want to specifically say his name because he was critically wounded, shot 3 times. And so when we talk about holding people in our hearts, this is another family that really needs all thoughts, and if you pray, your prayers today as well. We did tell you earlier in this hour, we were kind of monitoring the activities of Sky Fox up in the air. They were going to a barn fire at the time that was in Huntley. They did get there. I believe we were probably mid-conversation when they got there. They got a little video of the firefighters out putting that fire out. That is on our website as well. We didn't catch it here, but again, we do have that on our website. And as you can see here, they're up above the beach where the water is very choppy today. Now remember that the beach is open for the holiday weekend, for the season, for the summer season. They open today, starting this holiday weekend. And so we know, just as we're seeing here, people will kind of be assessing, can I go out on the water? Should I go out on the water? Listen, if the flags are up, do not get in the water. Even if it looks like something you've navigated before, you just never know. The flags are up. If they go up, they are up for a reason. I can't see in this particular picture that there are any flags up. We know that the flags were up. Those red flags were up yesterday, and the choppy water still exists out there, but not sure if we've seen any flags. They're kind of zooming in from one location to the next of just a lot of folks standing next to their boats. I see a green flag. Okay, all right. So this might be a time when you can get out there then. But it looks like from picture to picture, there are a lot of folks waiting to see, should I get out into the water? It's also cold. The water itself is cold today. We are anticipating that things will warm up for the weekend, but that water is still a little chilly out there, so maybe some boaters kind of thinking it over here because one of the waves and two of the temperature of that water. But you can see folks are starting to get out there, and I want to pay close attention also to the lifeguard that's out there, because today is the first day that we have lifeguards back out at the stands as well. So we want everyone to enjoy the weekend. We want everyone to be safe this weekend. Again, if you see green flags, great. If you see those red flags, please don't get in the water. We've already had a very unfortunate episode to take a young man's life this week getting into the water. So please be very clear about what the directives are from the authorities in terms of trying to keep you safe. Let's all make sure we do that. We also have several events that are going to be going on throughout our area this weekend, and so some places are already kind of closed off. You can see for the most part it looks like the traffic, when we kind of zoomed out for a second, was moving fairly smoothly, but there are several locations where things are blocked off. We have the Sueños Festival that's going on downtown. That's in Grant Park, and all the way down, so you can see like Columbus, down to Ida B. Wells, all of that. It's full of closures in that area for the Sueños Music Festival that's going on. We're on the south side right now for the helicopter, so as they zoom in, I'm talking about things that are a little further down. We also have an R&B festival that's going on in Union Park, and I believe we were trying to get someone from that festival on the show today. Okay, that's going to be at 3:15. We'll be able to talk to them. Kelly Rowland is one of the artists. It's a big festival that's going to be held there in Union Park. So there's a little something for everybody happening this weekend. You want to be in the water? Again, just make sure you are very clear about the directives from the authorities, but there's plenty happening on the land as well. Several festivals that will be going on. And again, amidst it all, there's plenty of fun things to happen. Just hold in your heart those Gold Star families who have lost loved ones. It is not a happy weekend necessarily for those families. And so Memorial Weekend is us paying tribute to their lost loved ones. And again, we have a lost local hero as well. We want to have that department, the Chicago Fire Department, and more specifically, firefighter Decker's family in our hearts, and then Deputy Samuelson there in Indiana with LaPorte Sheriff's Office. There's a lot that's happening, a lot of different things, some ups, some downs, but just be mindful of things going into this holiday weekend. 3 days, maybe it's 4 if you're already getting going, but we're going to kind of set you up for what's happening in the next hour. When we come back, give us 2 minutes and we'll reset. 2:01, everyone. Let's talk about what's happening in this hour ahead. We are going to talk with one of the organizers of the Forever Mind Festival. Remember, I was mentioning moments ago that we were going to talk about two different festivals. We were showing you, in fact, we had the chopper up. That's at the Sears Tower, where a lot of people will be. But just moments ago, they were over Sueños. So that's going to be happening in Grant Park. We know it's kind of shut down in that area for Sueños. But Forever Mind Festival is going to be over at Union Park. We're going to speak with one of the organizers of Forever Mind about that around 2:45. We also, we've got to get into a conversation, guys, about Park Ridge Bat. You know, we don't often associate bats with our area, but they're here. And when we find out about a rabid bat, we need to talk about it. So we're going to get some information from the interim administrator of the Cook County Department of Animal and Rabies Control. So we all know what we need to avoid and what we need to be on the lookout for. But first and foremost, you know, graduation season comes with so many different emotions, and I think the question that every soon-to-be or just having graduated student gets is, so what's next? And that can be a tricky question. That can be a tricky question, especially right now when you think about the environment that they're going into, whether it's the job market itself, the economy, or even the advancement of technology, AI, how it all fits together. The dean of the Gies College of Business at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, Brooke Elliott, is joining me now to talk a little bit ahead of her panel discussion that she's going to be having on that very topic of what's next. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to join today.
We certainly appreciate it, and I think that we'll post this online, and it'll help a lot of people, you know, who are getting ready to come out of school and trying to figure a lot of life out right now.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me what you all expect to cover, and why delve into the things that you are.
Yeah. So we're going to talk just a lot about what the changing workforce looks like. And, you know, you mentioned AI and the disruptive impact, you know, that AI is having. And some people call it disruptive. Some people call it transformative. You know, some people, it creates a lot of uncertainty, but also a tremendous amount of excitement. But we're going to talk about particularly, you know, on business education, how we think about educating our students and really what employers are expecting whenever our students do graduate. We had almost 1,900 graduates from the Gies College of Business last week. And the workforce looks very different for them, you know, than it did even our graduates last year, and particularly from 5 years ago. And so I think we're going to have a really exciting discussion about what skills employers are looking for, and really how higher education can ensure that we're producing talent that can be successful whenever they enter the workforce.
You know, that's an interesting part of it too, because it's not just on the onus isn't just on the graduate to be ready for it. I mean, you know, the people who are entrusted with their education to get them out to the world also play a part in it too.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, we play a really important part, and I do think, you know, as a dean, it is on, you know, me as a dean, on our faculty, on our staff, to ensure that we're preparing our students to enter the workforce and to have the skills that they need to be successful and to feel confident and to know that they can navigate whatever is put in front of them. And it does change how we think about higher education. Interestingly, you know, of course, in the Gies College of Business, we want to ensure that our students become AI fluent, you know, or are AI natives. And that's what we hear our employers talking about. But what's even more important is that they can demonstrate those really uniquely human skills. And so it's interesting in that at a time when AI is transforming everything, our employers say we want students who can think critically, who can communicate well, who are creative, who are curious. And so all of these things that really only a human, you know, can exhibit, and the way that a human can stand out above AI, that's what employers are looking for.
Super important that you pointed out the things that only humans can give, because I'm sure some of them are thinking like, is it worth it? Because maybe that AI is going to take my job.
Yes, that's what we hear all the time. I have freshmen. I talk to freshmen when they come on campus, and they say, Dean Elliott, what skills do I need whenever I leave in 4 years? And I say, look, right now I can't tell you the precise technical skills, but I can ensure that you will have those skills. But what is most important is the skills that you're showing up with already, and we're going to help you to build those. Storytelling is another one that's really, really important. What I hear from employers again and again is, we see our graduates show up, and whenever they're in an interview, can they talk about their experiences? Can they tell the story behind their resume? Because that's something that, they can't use Claude or Chat GPT to develop on the spot. And I think, when we talk about jobs going away, I hear that concern, and it does create really warranted uncertainty and fear. But what I see is just what's expected at an entry-level position is different. And so there are still entry-level jobs, but the stakes are a little bit higher, and individuals are expected to come in with, a higher level skill set. But if you come to the University of Illinois, we're here to ensure that, you succeed and that you show up on day one and are able to be confident and successful in your chosen profession.
Yeah, you mentioned, can they tell the story of their resume? It's like, did you write this resume?
Well, okay, maybe, but now I see more and more, our students actually are coming and asking us, can I use ChatGPT to form my resume? Can I use Claude to create my LinkedIn profile? If I have to respond to questions that an interviewer sends ahead of time, is it okay for me to use these tools? And they're genuine questions, and they're really important questions. And so, we're also teaching our students about ethical use of AI and when it's okay to use AI and when to be transparent about your use. And the answer there is always, if you're using these tools, being upfront about when you're using them, and then being true to when it actually is you. Being your authentic self is something that we talk about all the time, and letting your authentic skills really show through.
Yeah. What are the things that you help them try to set themselves apart by?
Yeah, so, a few things. We really focus on experiential learning in the Gies College of Business. So it's learning by doing. Those types of environments and that type of learning environment really focuses on your ability to communicate with teammates, your ability to work through a challenging situation, to be agile, to be creative, to be resilient whenever you're faced with different challenges, that it's okay to fail, but it's really your ability to push through. And yes, you might use a tool like Claude to help you navigate, but again, it's your unique human skills that we really want to stand out. And we're working on developing those skills as soon as they walk in day one as a freshman. And then we hope whenever they graduate that they're prepared to enter the workforce. But, learning really is a lifetime journey, and you're never done learning. And so, coming back to us as educators, whether it's the Gies College of Business or another outstanding institution, having that really just intellectual curiosity and that desire to continuously learn is really critical.
And what are new technology opens the door for also new jobs altogether.
Yeah.
So what are some of the new lifelines that really people could have?
Yeah. So, I think it opens up a lot of possibilities. So my background is in accountancy, and all the time I see popular press articles that say AI is going to be the end of accountancy. But I'm chair of an audit committee for a private company, and we were meeting with our external auditor yesterday, and they talked about, now companies and public accounting firms need to think about the governance of AI, in different organizations. And so they actually need more talent in those areas, not less talent. And they're developing new procedure and employing really these technologies in a different way to govern a set of risks that never existed before. And so that's a really narrow example in a specific discipline, but I hear stories like that again and again. And so while, some of those rote tasks might not be what you see in entry-level positions, the really higher level skills are going to be more and more in demand. Those judgment skills, your ability to make decisions under uncertainty. And again, it really comes back to those human skills that I think that we've, always developed really well across a number of majors at the University of Illinois.
Okay, we've talked about some of the things that are available to them, some of the things that they could confront. What would be some of the pitfalls that we can help them avoid right now?
Yeah, for sure. So I think some of the pitfalls that I see, just relying more on AI tools than you do yourself. And it becomes very clear whenever someone has used an AI tool like ChatGPT or Claude to write. It's funny, but Claude tends to use like long hyphens, and no one uses long hyphens in their writing. Claude uses consequently again and again as a transition. And so, it becomes very clear when the work is not your own. And I see students fall into that pitfall, and maybe they had, some original thought, but they're not starting with an original draft, and they're letting the technology take the draft and do what they believe is critical thinking. But it's very clear from an educator perspective that there was very little critical thinking sometimes that went into the document. And so, but that's why they're here. I mean, we're providing an opportunity for, hopefully them to learn those mistakes. And again, us to really talk about responsible use of AI, ethical use of AI. We talk about the effects of AI on the environment. It creates tremendous water demand, tremendous energy demand. And I know in the Grainger College of Engineering, there are a lot of researchers that are exploring those problems and those challenges. And so I think it's, really taking the pitfalls and trying to not only educate our students, but hopefully our students, become innovators and can develop solutions to some of the challenges that we see.
Because that is a part of coming out in a new generation. What sets you apart is the fact that we didn't grow up with that.
No, we didn't grow up with that. I have a 15-year-old, and she thinks about AI just like a calculator. Yeah. And it's so interesting to see. And I think about as an educator, and I think about my daughter's age, those kids that are freshmen in high school now, and how they will be whenever they walk into our doors as freshmen at the Gies College of Business. And they're going to be AI fluent, and maybe even AI experts walking in the door. And that raises the bar for us as educators, because we have to meet our students where they are.
I absolutely love your passion, your energy for it all. Makes me want to go back to school, except for all the rest that comes with it.
Anytime.
Tell us one more time for this discussion, the virtual panel discussion. Do people need to register for it? Is it closed off by now, or can people still join?
No, people can still register. It's the lincolnforum.org. It should be a really, really exciting discussion. I'm joined by two other outstanding leaders, one from United and one from P33. And so I'll give the educator perspective. They'll give the corporate perspective. And I think we're going to have a really engaging discussion talking about, again, the challenges that AI is presenting, but also the opportunities and how everyone can be prepared to enter the workforce, or, if you're already in the workforce, where do you look to be able to upskill and ensure that you can continue on, the path that you would like from a career perspective.
How to maximize the opportunity that's there.
That's right.
So much for your time, and congratulations to all the graduates. Thank you for what you did getting them there.
No, thank you so much. All right,
take care. It's 2:15, and she mentioned several times the ethical use of AI. Well, right around 2:45, we're actually going to be speaking about an unethical situation that happened. It's all over the internet now. This Lyft driver accused of using an AI-generated image for a damage claim. That conversation is coming up again in just about 30 minutes. Give us 2 minutes, though, and then we're going to talk more about a rabid bat in Park Ridge. 2:18, everybody, and unfortunately, the city of Park Ridge has been notified by Cook County Animal and Rabies Control that a bat found in their area has tested positive for rabies. Not what you want to hear when everybody wants to be back outside. But we have Dr. Megan Carolyn, the interim administrator of the Cook County Department of Animal and Rabies Control, who's joining us now to tell us about what's going on here, or whether we need to be concerned, or how to deal with all of this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Anita. I appreciate it.
When was the last time you all had to put out a notice like this?
Sure. So, we have rabid bats every year within Cook County. So on average, we see somewhere in the ballpark of about 7 rabid bats. The season for rabid bats tends to start right about now. We are right on time where we would expect to have our first case. And they tend to be the highest case rate in August. So all through summer is when we tend to see the most cases of rabies in bats in this area.
Why is that?
Bats tend to be more active during this time, so they do go through kind of a dormant hibernation period when it's very cold, and then in the spring and summer we start seeing them become more active again.
And how do they become rabid?
A good question. So rabies is a viral disease, and rabies is spread through a bite or scratch of an infected animal. So if a rabid animal bites and breaks skin or deposits saliva on an open wound, that would be potential modes of transmission.
So does that mean they've like eaten something else that was rabid, and then that's how they got it?
Yeah, it means that they were bit by another rabid animal previously. It's always through like a bite or scratch, essentially.
So almost going back to like the movies, literally.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is it a particular species of bat?
In this area, we do have several species of bats, and all of them can carry the rabies virus. So it's not necessarily species specific.
All right. So when we hear rabid bat, what should our response be?
Sure. So first I would say that definitely not all bats are rabid. Bats are definitely our friends. They do a lot for the environment and the ecosystem. On average, in the state of Illinois as a whole, only about 3% of bats that are tested do test positive for rabies. And those are really like the sickest of the sick bats in general. Those are bats that we see laying sick on a sidewalk, or who maybe have made it into someone's home and can't escape. So it's not even the healthiest batch of bats that are being tested, and still only a very small percentage of those are actually positive for rabies. So in general, I would say don't be fearful of bats. But that being said, take any exposure to bats seriously, knowing that they are carriers of rabies in this area, and we want to practice extra caution around this species in particular.
Where would we encounter bats?
If you're lucky, nowhere. But people do have unexpected visitors in their home all the time. Bats sometimes do take up shop in people's attics. Sometimes they'll fly in through an open door or window. And that really kind of stresses the point of vaccinating your pets as well. The most common exposure we see in pets is actually a bat in the home. It's not even something outside. So even our indoor pets, our indoor cats, I definitely would recommend vaccinating for rabies. And Cook County Animal and Rabies Control does actually have free rabies vaccine clinics all through the spring and summer months. They're dispersed all throughout the county, completely free for county residents. And you can find a list of those vaccination clinics on our website, cookcountyil.gov/ARC.
I have so many questions. So rural versus city, do we see them in either setting?
We do. We do have a fair amount of bats present within city limits, as well as out in more of the suburban Cook County area. So they don't really discriminate. They are truly everywhere.
And the vaccine, is it one shot? Is it a series of them?
So for pets, it's one vaccination. There are 1 year vaccines and 3 year vaccines. So people can talk to their veterinarians about what's best for their pet. And then on the human side of exposure, if a human is exposed to a bat, there is a series of vaccinations that are administered in that case.
Is that the only treatment if you are to encounter a bat?
Yeah, good question. So rabies is like 100% fatal, essentially, unless people seek post-exposure prophylaxis.
And
So there's no treatment once symptoms start. So you really need to act fast. If you had an exposure to a rabid bat, don't wait on it. Act immediately.
do bats that are not rabid bite?
They can, certainly, yes. Especially if they're in a strange environment, if they somehow find themselves in your home, they may bite. And those bites, if we have the bat and it tests negative for rabies, those bites are not a risk for rabies. There's no reason to seek treatment for those types of bites.
And how do you, if you encounter a bat, how do you all test to see if it was a bat with rabies or not?
So the test is done by taking a small sample of nervous system tissue and running what's called an antibody test on it. So basically the antibodies search that nervous tissue for the antigen, which is the infectious agent of the virus.
Okay, I don't want to make all bats to be horrible. I'm hearing they can actually be helpful in some ways to our environment.
Yeah, they can. And bats, in fact, are a protected species in Illinois as well, meaning that there are only certain seasons that if you have a bat infestation in your attic, for example, there are only certain seasons that you can perform exclusion methods because they are so vital to the ecosystem here.
Very interesting. And when we have an alert that goes out for Park Ridge, how long is it before there's another village, another city that has a similar alert? I mean, would the activity kind of stay contained to a specific area, or would you kind of see it hopping around?
We see it all over the county, from the very most northern point all the way to the south. We don't tend to see clusters per se. It does tend to be more sporadic.
What else do people need to know?
Sure. I think that the most important takeaway is bats are our friends, but if we do have exposure to a bat, I would encourage people not to do what is instinctual and get it out of the house as quickly as possible and release it, if at all possible. For example, if you have a bat in your bedroom, I would recommend leaving that room, closing the bedroom door, maybe putting some towels around the cracks of the door if needed, and then calling Cook County Department of Animal and Rabies Control or the Public Health Department to assess exposure risks and determine is testing necessary.
Dr. Carolyn, if I have a bat in the bedroom, the bat now owns the house. I'm out. It's yours.
Yep.
You live here now. It's your home. Are you all 24/7? The number for people to call, is that 24/7?
Absolutely. Bats are always considered an emergency, and we can be reached 24 hours a day.
Oh my goodness. I think it would be hard for me to stay calm and really think through that wonderful guy. Bats are our friends. When I see one in the house,
Right.
bats are our friends. Right, Anita, you know what to do. You listen to Dr. Carolyn, but we'll try. Important conversation to have. Thank you so much for what you do. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good weekend. It's 2:28, everyone. Give us 2 minutes, and then we're going to try to get into our next discussion here on the show. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's 2:30 right now. Any minute now, we're hoping to have a conversation with Alan Sanders. He is a former Times Magazine senior reporter and a professor emeritus for St. Peter's University. And that conversation we're hoping to have with him is about the DNI secretary, Tulsi Gabbard, or director, Tulsi Gabbard, who announced that she's resigning today. And it had been, kind of rumored for a while that she might be stepping down. Today she said this is in order to support her husband, who is battling a rare form of bone cancer. And in this letter to President Trump, she thanked him for the opportunity to lead the office of the Director of National Intelligence, or as the director, but she also says she needed to be there for her husband, who has obviously stood by her through ups and downs as well. And so while it's not a fully surprising announcement, it is one that makes you wonder who comes next, and what their mentality may be on things. It also makes you wonder about the cases that she was on, the things that she was looking into, the things that she knows. What happens with those should someone else take that role. There are things that fall under this particular office that are pretty run-of-the-mill, pretty standard. And then there have also been a lot of questions about things that ultimately fell under her office in terms of even showing up at the FBI raid down in Georgia. Of an elections office, and people not really understanding how the Office of Intelligence, National Intelligence, what that office had to do with this FBI raid down in Georgia of an elections office. So you wonder, what happens with cases like that? Should someone else become the new DNI lead? There are lots of questions where that's concerned, but again, we're hoping to be able to speak to Alan Sanders about it. He has a wealth of knowledge, and kind of pick his brain about things that he has seen and what he might think would happen next. Just as soon as he logs on, we will take you to that conversation with him. A few other things that we're monitoring right now, we'll kind of go through. I was just talking about someone in the Trump administration, so let's go to the rally where President Trump is expected to speak any moment now. You can see that people have filled the room and are waiting on President Trump to arrive here. In the first hour, we showed you when Marine One was getting ready to take off, and this is where he was headed. Okay, so he's going to be speaking at the Rockland Community College in New York, and he is scheduled to deliver remarks there sometime within the next hour. It's a campaign effort to support the Republican Representative Mike Lawler, who represents New York's 17th Congressional District. That's just north of New York City. He is seeking a third term in that area. There are Democrats who have filed to run in a primary this June to challenge Lawler in November. So sounds like he's going to need some help. And who better from the Republicans' standpoint to come in and kind of give you a boost? It would be President Trump. We have seen in the last several weeks in primaries that have come up, the person who he has endorsed has come through pretty much every time. They're still kind of waiting to see what's going to happen down in Texas, but you have Attorney General Paxton, who has now kind of come through as the Republican nominee there for Senate to unseat Senator Cornyn. We saw in Indiana when it was just state senators who did not redraw the lines for redistricting there. They kind of rebuffed the president and said they weren't going to follow those orders, and all 5 of the 8 5 of the 8 were unseated. We've seen it time and time again. We saw it down in Louisiana for Bill Cassidy's seat, and he has, come against the president multiple times, and he has now been unseated. And in fact, he says he's going to use the rest of his term to speak out on several things. So, that this, if you need the help, which it sounds like this particular representative will need the help, you can see how the room has filled in there in New York to hear from President Trump as he stumps for this particular representative. One of the things that's also been mentioned in this election cycle as we, kind of gear up for the midterms. Ultimately, we're talking about primaries right now, but we gear up for the midterms in November, has been how much money has been spent. Even in the Republican primaries, many of them where you haven't seen a lot of money being spent before. I mean, in Indiana, for instance, where maybe, a few $100,000 was spent in years past, and how that has been multiplied this year because of the Trump effect, and in particular the things that he has really wanted to make a statement about. And so that's been a really big talking point as well. So each one of these races becomes interesting really for in its own right. In each state they kind of have their own their own nuances. Thomas Massey is another one. When we kind of watch that race there to see, okay, would this be another person who has spoken out against President Trump within his own party? Would he be unseated as well? So we've watched time and time again, and each primary cycle that's come up thus far, for the most part, again, the person that President Trump has stood beside, the person that he has put a stamp on, has actually been the winner in those races, and kind of really put a stamp on the fact that President Trump firmly has a grasp on the party. Now, does he has a grasp on each one of the each one of the chambers, whether it be for the Senate or for the Congress? That's still a question right now, big question, as there are some major bills that are being studied right now and debated right now, whether it's funding the fund that could release money to people who have been harmed. I believe it's the weaponization fund, as President Trump has put it. There's a lot of Republican backlash that he's getting from that. Never mind the Democrats who are saying that they are extremely concerned about it. There are a number of Republicans who have stepped forth to say that they are concerned about it as well. That was a part of a settlement that came from his IRS lawsuit. And so, there's the argument that, well, he won the suit, or not won the suit, but there was a settlement, and so he can do, he feels, what he wants with the funds from that settlement. But there are plenty of folks, lawmakers, who are saying, no, you can't actually do exactly what you want to do with those funds. So there are 2 police officers, former Capitol police officers, who are suing about that fund, and there are several Republican lawmakers who have also stepped forward to say that they do not feel like it's the right thing. Again, so there's still a question as to, what President Trump's effect will be on the midterms ultimately. But for the primaries that are all about your base for either party, we have seen him standing very strong, shoulder to shoulder with several candidates that have been successful in their races. And this would be another test of it for the GOP representative, Mike Lawler, who represents New York's 17th congressional district. It looks like the cameras are up, and there is President Trump coming out right now. So let's listen.
of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave their life to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
God bless the USA. All right, that's again there in New York, where President Trump is getting ready to deliver remarks. But we do have a former Time Magazine senior reporter and professor emeritus at St. Peter's University, Alan Sanders, who has joined us now to talk about the Trump administration and more specifically Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI director, who announced that she's resigning today. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Were you surprised?
Well, not surprised in the overall decision for her to leave the administration, because there had been some tension between her, Mr. Trump, and of course other national security advisors. But surprised because the reason was, of course, a very personal reason, the problem, the medical issues involving her husband. And, medical issues always come as a surprise to the ones involved. And of course, when the news comes out, we're all surprised and we're all sorry to hear about her husband's cancer diagnosis.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you put that very well. It had been rumored for quite some time that she could possibly be leaving, but didn't think that it was going to be for this reason. What do you think history will say about Tulsi Gabbard's time in the Trump administration?
Well, I don't think it'll say very much, because it seems that she was sidelined on many issues. She came to the administration as a convert. She was a Democratic Congress person, and then ultimately wound up being the Director of National Intelligence for Mr. Trump. And she was not quite trusted by the entourage of Donald Trump, President Trump. And also she disagreed with him, broadly speaking, on foreign military interventions. She did not believe that the U.S. should be involved militarily in many conflicts, including particularly conflicts in the Middle East. And so that was at odds with, of course, the president's decisions this year to strike Iran and to get involved in the issues of the Middle East involving Iran.
You spoke to the things that the U.S. has been involved in overseas. One of the things that I think a lot of people scratch their head about that Tulsi Gabbard, Director Gabbard, was involved in here in the States was that FBI raid down in Georgia. What do you think will come from that at the election office? What do you think will come from that now that she has stepped down?
Well, I think it'll continue, certainly, because Donald Trump always has said and continues to believe that the 2020 election was taken from him, despite overwhelming evidence and overwhelming number of cases which demonstrated that the election was fully fair and free. So her departure won't change Donald Trump's focus on this. But of course, it won't change the results either. We have not seen any new evidence. I mean, whatever investigations are pursued here, we'll have to wait and see. But nothing credible has emerged in the many years since the election, and it's doubtful that any credible information will come forth from any continued investigation. What's curious, as you point out, is that why would the Director of National Intelligence be involved in what is essentially a domestic issue and a domestic investigation? That's never been cleared up. Perhaps she was trying to ingratiate herself with Donald Trump, given the fact that she was sidelined on many issues involving national security. So perhaps she wanted to get back in somehow into the president's favor. We don't know why she was involved, and there's been no explanation as to why she was involved.
Mm-hmm. And be it her background, would you say she was an untraditional pick for that role as DNI director?
Oh, absolutely. Like so many other officials that Donald Trump picked to be part of his cabinet, she had no real experience in the field. So she was parachuted into the Director of National Intelligence without any real record of being involved in intelligence work in politics and in the political world. And so she was certainly an unconventional pick. But given Donald Trump's choice of cabinet officials, she was pretty much in the mainstream of the kind of people he has picked, people with very little experience over the agencies over which they were appointed.
So is there any type of thought, all of this is new, but again, it was rumored for a while, is there any thought of who could be next?
Well, I think the president has already indicated that her deputy will be assuming the role, and Mr. Lucas does have, I think that's his name, Mr. Lucas does have experience in the national security field. What his actual views are on many issues, I don't think many of us know, but he'll be taking over the role until, of course, the president decides on a permanent replacement. And at that point, of course, there would be confirmation hearings, and the Senate hearings would reveal what kind of views and what kind of experience the permanent appointee would have.
So Tulsi Gabbard, Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi, and we're coming up on midterm elections. Would you say that the turnover in these major roles would play a part in people feeling like things are still unsettled yet in the Trump administration? Or do you think this is kind of run of the mill in a midterm year?
Well, I think the president is conscious of the fact that these folks have not really helped the president very much electorally or politically. What's also interesting, as you went down the list, of course, is that all the people you mentioned are female. And many political observers are noting that fact, that the people he has removed or pushed out or have left on their own have been women. But certainly the president is starting to feel the heat. Of course, he denies it. Every politician denies feeling the heat. But nonetheless, it is clear that Pam Bondi, the labor secretary that you mentioned, and the others have really been a political weight around the president's neck. And so it's not surprising that he would move to remove them early on in the year before we actually get caught up in the actual electoral cycle.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I would ask you who you think is next, but
hard to know. With Donald Trump, it's impossible to predict, so I wouldn't want to venture out on that limb.
just wanted to leave it open, if you wanted to fill in that blank. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
My pleasure. You too. Take care.
Yeah. And again, it had been rumored for quite some time, so not altogether surprising that Tulsi Gabbard resigned. But as we circle back just to the beginning, and I don't want to make light of it, she did say that she was stepping down to assist her husband, who is battling cancer. And that was very surprising, very serious. And for that, our heart goes out to her. It's about 2:50, though. Let's take a quick break and see if we can get into our next discussion after it. welcome back, everyone. 2:51 right now, and a story that has gone viral online. A Lyft driver accused of using AI-generated images for a damage claim, and we have the father of the child that was accused of damaging this Lyft driver's car. Bert Gore is joining us now. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Let me ask you, has this experience made you decide not to take a ride share ever again?
Not at all. I mean, I think that, you have a lot of hard-working men and women that work for all these, the two different rideshare companies. And, with any big company, I think that you're going to occasionally get a bad egg that, is a bad actor.
Okay. Before I jump into the details, we see palm trees behind you, but I hear you're from Illinois.
Yes, I am. I was born in Chicago, and we lived in Naperville for many years.
Okay. All right. So Naperville's own Bert Gore, take me through this situation, how we got to speaking today.
Sure. So, what happened is last Saturday, I had an unexpected visit with my 7-year-old son to the doctor. And so we had just gotten home and I was getting him situated. And so, I got him on our bed and then all of a sudden I get an alert on my phone, and it's Chase fraud alert. And I look at the phone and it says, from Chase, do you recognize this charge? And I'm like, I definitely don't recognize this charge. I know where I was just at for the last few hours. And I'm like, no. And so then immediately, it proceeds to tell me, well, we're going to cancel it. This was on a debit card. Right? And it tells me that it's going to cancel the debit card, and anything that's tied to it is now canceled. I'm thinking, great. That's a pain in the butt in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I get him situated, and we had just gotten home, so I didn't even realize that my girls were in the bedroom, and I knew that they were at the beach earlier. And I'm like, oh, hey, I'm like, you guys take Lyft home? And I know that, they're allowed to use it. And that particular day, for sure, they had to use it because I had to go take him to the doctor. But anyway, and my oldest, who's 15, she's like, yeah. And I go, what did you, how did you get home? And she said, Lyft. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I just got a $75 damage charge on my card, and I thought it's something fraudulent. And I'm like, do you guys mess up the car? And, instantly in my mind, I'm like furious. I'm like, these girls, they're going to be freaking grounded for the whole weekend. And so she's like, no, we didn't do anything to the car. And I'm like, let me see your phone. I want to see the app. They have like the teen account on their app. And so I look at her phone and I'm going through the app. And sure enough, it's like an $18 ride. It says $75 damage charge. So I start communicating through the chat option that they have, and Lyft confirms that our driver stated that the 3 girls in the car left the car. Their words were a mess. And my daughter's standing right there, and I feel like, she's like crowding me. I'm like, oh my God, give me some space already. Let me talk to this person. And these things don't take minutes. It feels like it takes hours to get through one of these whole chats. But they're telling me that their driver sent them pictures and they verified all the information, and that they're standing behind the driver and their user agreement. And I'm like, well, okay, if you receive pictures from the driver, I'm like, send me the pictures. So lo and behold, they send me the pictures, and my daughter's standing right there still over my shoulder. And as soon as the pictures comes through, she's like, Dad, that's not us. That's AI. And in my mind, like, I'm kind of in shock because I'm like trying to process it. I mean, there's French fries, there's a milkshake, there's a 32-ounce fountain drink spilled out on the back seat of the car. And I'm like, how did this even happen? And she's like, no, Dad, look. And she points out that on the bottom of one of the pictures is the AI logo. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. And so I take the photo and I, download the photo, and I circle the right-hand corner of one of the photos. And I send it back to them, and I'm like, hey, these photos, your driver made these photos. These photos are, made using AI. And I'm like, look at the bottom corner where I circled it. And so, the chat representative is she's like, well, he or she is like, let me look at it. And then they get back to me and they go, well, in fact, we did verify that the driver did use Gemini AI to generate these photos. Now, those were their words, not mine.
And what was going through your head when it was confirmed?
Well, I mean, honestly, I was kind of pissed. I'm upset because I just canceled that darn debit card that it was tied to, and that's lesson number one with let's say something like this, is that using a debit card for it. I mean, I've learned a lot in, let's say, the last 36 to 72 hours about all this, but I'm upset because I feel like the girls are I felt like the girls are kind of being taken advantage of, and that's how my daughter felt as well too. Is that you got 3 girls in the car, and they get charged $75, and probably nobody's going to notice it. And truth be told, is that $75 is $75, but the fact is that you're not, at least I'm not checking every single ride to make sure that I'm being charged what the value of the ride was, right?
Yeah.
So that could have easily slipped by that $75. And furthermore, what's interesting about it is that when I originally posted this in a local group, within like 4 hours, I had like a dozen different people chime in. Oh, I was just on a girls' trip in Las Vegas, and they tried charging us XYZ, for damage on a ride. Oh, this happened to me here, and I'm like, okay, so, here we are.
So let's talk accountability. I mean, what happens after they realize, oh, you're right? What happens?
Right. So I think that like all this is happening, and they said, well, we're sorry. They apologized that this happened, and we've decoupled you from the driver. And I said, and they said, we're never going to assign that driver to you again. And I'm like, decoupled me from the driver? I'm like, the driver, you shouldn't even have this driver driving for you after this, right? I mean, they're trying to scam the system. And I asked it to be elevated where I could speak to somebody in management, but they weren't able to go ahead and do that. And I provided them with my phone number and my email address to call me so that we could talk about it, only because it just saying I'm sorry and that we've decoupled you with a driver, that's kind of not necessarily enough that your driver is trying to defraud you. And not to mention, the fact is that actually I've come to find out is that it's actually a criminal matter. Now, I'm not into getting retribution on this whole thing. It's more really awareness than anything else.
Well, I mean, that's very good natured of you, but I wonder how many other people this person has done that to.
Right. I think that as I've seen people commenting on this story, and as it's circulated through the media and so forth, I've had a lot of people that have commented that this has happened to them, not necessarily with AI. Okay, I haven't heard one single person, and I've seen hundreds of different comments. I've never had one person comment and say that it was AI. So this is the first that I've heard of that they used AI for this improper way, obviously, of using AI. But it's an example really of how AI can be used in a negative way, right? Because if the guy let's say if he modified the photo and he cut out that symbol of the AI, of the Gemini logo on the bottom right, I'm not sure exactly how I would have proved otherwise with the chat representative that didn't actually happen.
Yeah.
I mean, now, like today, the girls have finals, and they got out early, so they, we dropped them off the beach, and then they were going to take a ride home. I'm like, listen, from now on, just take a picture of the ride when you get out of the car, the back seat of the car, and then there's no question of how you left the car.
And that leads me into one of the final things I wanted to touch on with you was, like, you mentioned the lessons you've learned. What all lessons have you learned that you could impart on other people now?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that the debit card aspect of it is what's really vulnerable, right? And you have multiple forms of payment. Like at least I do. I have a work card set up for these rideshare apps, and we toggle between it. It's sometimes you flip the Lyft, sometimes you use Uber. It depends on what ride is how much. But in this particular case, it was a debit card, right? And so, if the girls even have their green light cards set up with their account, because I'm not paying necessarily for their rides all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so if, for example, this was, let's say, them going out and it would have tapped their green light card, well, they wouldn't have any money. Or it could cost, overdraft fees, for somebody. We know the times that we're living in and the way that, gas prices are and everything. So I think you're even more vulnerable using a debit card. And as we all know, with a debit card, disputing charges is a lot more difficult than it is, let's say, if with a Visa logo or other brand credit cards.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing with us. Anything else that you think you would do differently, or that you feel differently now about Lyft or rideshare services in general after this ordeal?
Well, I think that, one thing's clear is that Lyft is a technology company, right? And many of us utilize it on a daily basis. And I enjoy it and I love it. And to be honest, I feel safer actually with my kids riding in a Lyft or an Uber at their age versus piling into a car with a newer 16-year-old driver and a bunch of teenagers in the car, right? But at the end of the day, clearly technology companies such as Lyft, that's a $5 billion company, they got to have a little bit better safeguards in place to protect the consumer from their drivers doing this.
Bert, thank you so much for coming on the show. We certainly
Thanks for having
appreciate
me. I
it.
appreciate
Sorry
it.
that it's under these circumstances.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Makes
Bye-bye.
you question a lot of things. Especially, again, AI is only getting trickier and trickier. But it's a good thing he caught it. And maybe that's one of the biggest lessons for all of us, is to be very vigilant about the charges that are on our cards. It is 3:03. We're in our final hour here on the show. So give us 2 minutes and then I'll set you up for where we're going from here. Welcome back, everyone. 3:06. Let's talk about what's coming up in this hour. We still have a little bit more time with you before we turn you over to the 4 o'clock on this Friday here. We're going to talk about a fundraiser that's going to help benefit so many people in this area who have been affected by SNAP benefit changes, the requirements. The Friendship Center here in our area is working on something very special, and we'll talk to them about what they're doing. We'll get an update on our weekend forecast. We know know it's a long one for many of you, plus the beaches open starting today. We've got lifeguards out there, but also some chilly water. So we'll talk about that. And we'll hear from a DJ for one of the big festivals in town for this weekend. So many different things that are going on, and the Forever Mine Festival is going to be taking place in Union Square. So we'll get to all of those things before we let you go, but we're starting off here in this hour with State Representative Nabila Saeed from Palatine, as she has sponsored a bill seeking to regulate the maximum price of certain prescription drugs. It went through the House, it's headed on to the Senate, and she's joining us now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
And I should have said for being back with us, because you've joined us before, and we really appreciate you circling back. So tell us about this bill, Senate Bill 3496.
Yes, Senate Bill 3496, our Prescription Drug Affordability Board bill, establishes a Prescription Drug Affordability Board, which could review the accessibility and affordability of certain drugs. You know, I've heard from so many of my constituents that one of the biggest costs that they deal with is the cost of their medication. And that's just an area where, you know, we can't afford to have people make difficult decisions about whether or not they take their medication or they decide to ration it. So we just passed this bill in the House, and essentially the way it would work is it could establish upper payment limits for certain drugs that do truly pose an affordability and accessibility concern, and that means that's a maximum price that that drug could be sold in the state of Illinois along down every single entity in the supply chain.
Tell me about what you were seeing that made you say this was needed here in Illinois.
So my first campaign, and also my second campaign, I knocked on thousands upon thousands of doors. And there is only so much that we can do to control inflation and the cost of everything rising. But one of the most egregious concerns that I heard was that people were rationing their medication. I had one gentleman, he rushed back into his house. When I asked him what issues are top of mind, he brought me a list of medication that he takes. And he listed out the price of every single one of them. And he's like, what can you do to fix the system? Because I need these drugs to survive and live a comfortable life, but I just can't afford them. And there's so many lucrative ways in which people are profiting off of individuals in our community struggling to afford basic healthcare and basic medication. And that truly prompted me to want to pursue prescription drug affordability and ultimately pass this bill in the House. This has been a long time coming. I introduced this bill the first year I got elected. So to even make this kind of progress and pass it through the House just yesterday or 2 days ago, I think it was just yesterday, actually. The days are blurring together. It's monumental progress that I'm proud of.
Well, congratulations on that. There have been many Republicans who have questioned how effective it could be if implemented. How do you respond?
So we're actually not trying to duplicate work and make this more inefficient than it needs to be. The way that we've set up our board is we're prioritizing 10 drugs that have already been negotiated at the federal level, and they're called the Medicare negotiated drugs with a maximum fair price. So those 10 drugs have been negotiated at the federal level under both presidential administrations, and now we're going to be incorporating those negotiated price levels in here in the state of Illinois for those drugs beyond just the Medicare population. So we'll start hopefully seeing savings even sooner, as soon as this bill gets signed into law. And I think that's what makes our board more effective, because we are trying to be more efficient with work that has already been done.
So have you seen in other states where this has been done effectively?
So in Colorado, they are the most similar to the kind of prescription drug affordability board that we have set up, that actually has teeth and sets an upper payment limit, which is the actual mechanism to help lower drug costs. And Colorado has set its first upper payment limit to go into effect January 1st of 2027, and they are projected to save $32 million just from this one upper payment limit on Enbrel.
Wow. And are our costs higher than other states?
Are costs higher in Colorado than in other states?
No,
or?
our costs here in Illinois that you're working on, are they higher here?
They will be if we don't pass a prescription drug affordability board. Enbrel in the state of Colorado will soon be less expensive than it is in the state of Illinois. But, across the country, this is such a significant problem. It's not isolated just to the state of Illinois.
Now, I'm seeing that the program would end in 5 years. Is that correct?
So it has a sunset clause where the program would have to be subject to be renewed by the Illinois General Assembly. And that was done through heavy negotiations with all of the stakeholders where there was a concern about effectiveness. And, we do want government to be able to take opportunities to reflect on programs that are working and not working. And I expect that in 5 years' time, we will see savings to not only our state budget, but lowering health insurance premiums across the board, passing through savings to consumers. And I am hopeful that in 5 years' time, we'll deem that this board is truly effective, is lowering drug costs, and will renew it.
So you see it as a positive then, that it would give the option to renew in 5 years instead of just kind of being static.
It was definitely a decision that was made through negotiations. It wasn't what I initially wanted. I wanted to make sure that we had a board set up for long-term success because I really do believe in a prescription drug affordability board, and I believe in its ability to lower drug costs. And frankly, I mentioned this on the House floor when I presented it. I'm desperate for any kind of relief that people in my community can experience. I think this was done through negotiations to make sure, we engage with every single stakeholder. I engaged with individuals across the aisle. We took feedback that we heard in committee. And ultimately, this was the result of those negotiations. So I honestly am grateful that we've passed it through the House. I'm optimistic that this 5-year program gives people who maybe are on the fence assurance that we still, as the Illinois General Assembly, have the ability to review its effectiveness and renew it if necessary. And we do this with a number of programs, so it's definitely not a novel concept.
Okay, so 5 years for it, and then is it any kind of drug or a particular class of drugs that will go into this or qualify for this?
So it could be any kind of drug that poses an accessibility and affordability concern. And the hope is that when this board is set up, people can write to this board and petition to this board about specific drugs that they're taking that might pose an affordability and accessibility concern. But once again, we'll be starting with the 10 Medicare negotiated drugs at the federal level.
And then who would be on the board?
So they would be appointees by the governor, and it would also consist of a stakeholder council that is appointed in a bipartisan fashion. We have strong language within the legislation that prevents conflict of interest for the board members. And we also have extensive requirements for who can be on the stakeholder council to make sure every single person that needs to be represented is represented, including the pharmaceutical companies.
And how would you hold the board accountable?
So the board would operate like many of our own state agencies, our existing state departments. They are an independent body, and it was intentionally done so that they would be an independent body. And ultimately, they would be under the purview of the legislative inspector general. They'd be subject to any kind of audits. They have to submit annual reports, and they would be, within the state government's purview too.
Okay. Governor Pritzker hasn't yet signaled his support. Why do you think that is?
I think they're reviewing legislation right now, was last I heard. There's been a lot of changes made to this bill, even within this past 4 or 5 months. Even within this past month, there's been significant changes. So just because we're nearing the end of session, we have so much legislation on the table. I believe they're still in the process of reviewing legislation that is making its way through the House and the Senate. This bill still has to go back to the Senate for final approval, and then hopefully can be sent to the governor's desk.
So you're still hopeful it'll happen this year?
I am hopeful and I am optimistic that we will pass a prescription drug affordability board this year.
Well, keep us updated. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Have a good weekend. 3:15, everyone. Give us 2 minutes, and we're hoping to get into our next discussion about the Forever Mind Festival. right, welcome back, everyone. We're certainly hoping that the weather cooperates for all fantastic things that are going to be taking place around the city and throughout Chicagoland for this long weekend for many people. One of the festivals that's happening in Chicago is the Forever Mine Music Festival. So if you are a lover of 90s and 2000s R&B, this might be the place to be right now. We're going to bring in DJ Sluggo, who's performing at Forever Mine in Union Square. Thank you so much for your time, man.
No problem. How you doing?
I'm feeling all right. Feeling even better when I hear music from many of these artists. Kelly Rowland, let me throw that one out there first and foremost. But who are some that you're excited about?
Actually, Kelly Rowland, Keisha Cole, and especially Juvenile. Like Juvenile was one of
for the 99 and 2000.
And we got myself, Terry Hunter, Lady D on stage too. So May the 23rd, Saturday, May the 23rd, and then when they're also doing it Sunday, May the 24th. So and it's a lot of more acts. You got Monica, Shaggy, Kitty Cash, Mario. So I'm coming both days.
And that's because you're special to the area. Talk a little bit about your love for Chicago.
Chicago, I mean, what can you say? Like the best city in the world. I've been a lot of places, seen a lot of things, traveled a lot, but nothing is better than Chicago. Like I love this city. And what better place to do house music, falling in love with R&B, 90s and 2000s. Come on, 90s and 2000s. R&B with Chicago house music, the Mecca. And what better place than Chicago to do this festival?
The Mecca. There you go. Absolutely. What do you think is so special about 90s and early 2000s music? I mean, that just can't be recaptured.
Let me be totally honest. I don't think we're ever going to get that era again. The 90s and 2000s R&B, and I was fortunate enough to grow up in that era, and I haven't seen nothing like it then, and nothing has came behind it. So to be able to be there with people who I grew up to, looking up to, and be able to grace the stage with these people, it's just gonna be a wonderful feeling. And I'm a big fan of Kelly Rowland and Keisha Cole and then Juvenile. So I'm not only, people say I'm an icon, I'm a legend, but I'm going to be in fan mode Saturday night.
I think that's a beautiful thing, especially when, musicians can vibe off of other musicians. I think
I'm a fan first.
Yeah. So tell me, how do you prepare for an event like this?
Well, get good sleep. Make sure you get good sleep the day before so that you can be prepared, to standing in all the walk. It's in a park, so it's going to be a lot of standing, a lot of walking, and then you subjected to the weather. But mentally, I wing it. It just be like, because you never know what crowd you're going to get. So I wing it all the time. Like I go there, I go early. This how I get there early, and I see other performers. I watch the other performers, and I see what's before me, and I'm like, okay, this type of crowd. So this record may not work, this record may not work, and that record may not. But this one's gonna work, that one's gonna work. So I watch the crowd. I'll come in 2 hours early and just sit and watch the crowd.
What are you looking for? Are you looking for them to start moving? What are some specific things that say, oh, that's gonna work?
So I'll wait and if a DJ before me plays a record and I'm saying, oh, it's that type of crowd. So they might play early 2000s record, or I see them play a record from current, and nobody's really moving. You got a few people moving, but then they go back and they hit a 1998 record, a 99, and the crowd goes crazy. More than likely, I'm staying in the 99, 2000, 2001, and not going any further than that.
We're a special group for sure. So how is it being a part of a brand new? I mean, this is the inaugural Forever Mine Festival. So how is that? Being a part of the start of something.
Yeah, when they called me, and I saw the lineup, there was no way I was not playing this festival. Even if I had something else to do, I was like, no, I'm not. I'm playing this festival. So just to be a part of something and then them to come out so strongly in the beginning, like these acts are phenomenal. So to come out so strongly in the beginning and to be able to say, no, I was at the first one. I played the first one. I don't know how many I might play after that, but I played the first one. So just to be part of the kickoff is big for me. It's big for me, especially in my city. So it's super big for me, and I'm excited. I'm super excited. Union Park will never be the same after Saturday and Sunday.
For the title of the festival, Forever Mine. Now, what comes to your mind lyrically when you hear Forever Mine?
Chicago, forever mine. That simple. This city is forever mine. This is my city, forever mine. And when I think of it in the context of what the way they were putting it together, or we put it together, R&B, 90s, 2000 meets Chicago house music and falls in love, forever mine. So putting those two together, it's genius. Just genius.
I love it. I love it. Okay, the festival co-owners, Fernando Nieto and Miguel Torres. Tell me about them.
Just good old friends of mine, and when they call, I'm coming. That's the best. Like, these guys are great guys. Like, great. You know, you don't have. It's a little mixed up in the music industry, and you'll hear all of the, a lot of bad things when it comes to the music industry. But these three guys are three of the good ones, and they want what's best for everybody in the festival. It's not just about them, not just about them making any money off the festival. They just want to put something great and good together for the city, and they are all for the city. So, when they called, I'm like, hey, I'm there. Like, anything you guys are doing, I want to be. And I've explained to them that on numerous occasions. Anything you guys are doing, I want to be a part of it. So just make the phone call.
So there's food vendors, bars, live art, merch booths, Y2K inspired photo activations, VIP upgrades. How much are the tickets?
I actually don't know. I know they're not high. They're not expensive at all.
Okay.
Because I haven't, usually when you hear about festivals, you'll get that backlash. People will text me back or email me back, like, those tickets are ridiculous, but I haven't heard that at all. So the tickets got to be within range. I think they're no more than $30. So,
oh, wow.
I don't think they're more than $30 for one day.
Each day, right?
I don't know how much it is for the weekend. So I don't know exactly how much they are, but I know they're not expensive at all. So, and for the people that you're getting on those particular days, like I would have paid anything to see Juvenile, Kelly Rowland, and Keisha Cole all in one day.
I can see a whole group saying, it's screaming love into the air with Keisha Cole.
I can't.
Never knew what I was missing.
That's going to be an epic moment in Chicago when everybody's singing love. I'm going to be one of the ones either on the side of the stage or actually. But, I'm one of those, I'm a fan, so I will leave. I'm not the backstage guy. I'm leaving backstage. I want to be up front, right there, and I want to be a part of the crowd. I want to be in the midst of everybody with that emotion and that feeling. So, when you side stage or backstage, you don't get that feeling. And I want to be right there cheering the artist on, saying, this is beautiful. And I know she's going to rock the crowd with that.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
What do you think it says about Chicago that we can have Sueños rocking over here in Grant Park, and in Union Square we can have Forever Mine really on the same weekend?
Yeah, it just lets you know how big the city is when it comes musically. This is one of the biggest cities on the music side. It just lets you know how enormous we are when it comes to music, and how much talent is in Chicago. So you can, and how many people love music. So you'll be able to have, I think you can do 3 or 4 parks at one time, probably the same day, and you're going to get a crowd at each one. I mean, only so many people can get in each park. So if I can't get in this one, I'm going to go to the next one. You know what I mean? So it's a big city. It's a lot of people here. And each one of these festivals are going to be, like, especially this one, it's going to be crazy. It's definitely going to be a crazy night.
Well, thank you so much for taking out
Oh,
the
no
time for
problem.
us on a busy weekend. And
yeah, definitely
I
busy
hope
weekend.
that it's a beautiful start to something that will go on for many years to come.
Yeah, it's a start of the summer. We kicking it right off.
All right, take care.
You as well.
328, everyone, give us 2 minutes, and we're going to try to bring in our good friend Mark Strell so we can find out if the weather is cooperating for all things. Today, so far, so good. It's just a lot of people with maybe jackets on. We'll be right back. right, 3:31, everyone. And I mentioned that we were going to try to check in with Mark Strell. He is working hard trying to get the forecast together for the 4 p.m. show, so he couldn't come up. But never fear. Today's 5 p.m. producer, Ethan Levitt, is here to get us prepared for what is to come. Hey, Ethan.
Hi, Anita. How you doing?
Doing all right. Getting closer to my weekend, sir.
Today's my Monday, so we're a little bit on opposite ends.
Very
but,
different
all's
feelings
well.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us what you all have coming up.
So, of course, we're still following the Michigan City, Indiana hospital shooting. It's a tragic event. So the officer the sheriff's deputy who was shot, still in critical condition but stable.
Okay.
But we got more information about him. We have a picture of him now. He's a 33-year-old man named Deputy John Samuelson. He's been with the department. He's been there for 12 years, and apparently he was following in the footsteps of his father, who was also a deputy, and he saw a man on the side of the road, car broken down. The guy requested that he take him to the hospital. After they took him to the hospital, The deputy, he found out, he heard that this person may have been involved in another crime here in Illinois, and then an altercation broke out. That suspect allegedly shoots the deputy, and then now the deputy is in critical condition. They arrest the suspect, who's from Chicago. They arrest him, and so we're just continuing to monitor that situation. We obviously hope that deputy is okay, or somehow recovers. But yeah, that's just such a terrible incident that we're keeping our eyes on.
It really is. And I think, so many people in the area are like, again? It's so eerily similar to the hospital shooting that happened last month at Swedish Hospital, taking the life of one officer and critically injuring his partner.
Yeah, so our reporter Saquon was at the hospital this morning. Actually asked a sergeant with the Indiana State Police about that, and he acknowledged that it's very frustrating, and that he said that this was a senseless crime. So yes, as you mentioned, it's very eerily similar. So it's like it definitely hits close to home.
Yeah.
And again, we hope that just like the other officer that was shot at Swedish Hospital, we've heard that they've been making progress. We hope that the same happens with this deputy as well.
We certainly do. It's been a very difficult day, I think, for the law enforcement community and all those who care. What else are you all working on?
So we also, the story that Tia Ewing, she did a story just this past week on a man who was pushed to the ground outside the Family Den Lounge. That happened on Sunday, but it happens in that exact same area. Another man fell to the ground and was hurt. This time, this person allegedly wasn't pushed, but there was something wrong. The sidewalk was damaged. They fell down, were hurt. So it appears like this specific sidewalk outside this Family Den Lounge is very problematic.
Well, there's a big gaping hole. I mean, for quite some time. At least you could see in the videos from the last incident. So you would think that couldn't have been the only person who ended up in the gape that is there, if you didn't see it, or if by some means you ended up in it. So is there video of this person as well?
So we're getting an interview with this person right now. And we've contacted the city about it. They say they're working on it, or sorry, we haven't heard back. So we're about this specific incident. So yeah, just another incident on the same block. And who knows whether there's others that, may have met a similar fate here.
Yeah, hopefully the city is going to work on it before there are more claims coming their way. Other things that you all have coming up?
Yes, so of course we've been, with the Indy 500 that's going to air on our station on Sunday, and the passing of Kyle Busch. There was 911 audio released from the call, and the person who called, so at the time that the 911 call was made, he was at some training facility, and he had apparently was on the ground in a bathroom. And this man called 911 saying that Kyle Busch was short of breath and was coughing up blood. So of course we know that, the strange circumstances surrounding Kyle Busch's death. He was, of course, a legendary NASCAR driver, and no one has, there hasn't been an exact cause of death mentioned, but we do know that he was taken to a hospital after a race for some
recently.
Very recently, after a race. He said it seemed like a sinus issue. So more details coming to light.
Lots of questions there, and I think as hard as that is for a family in the public light, I hope that they understand it's because he was so beloved. People cared, and to be just 41 years old, people just aren't thinking that this is the headline that they're going to see in the news, that Kyle, has passed away. It's just, it was a shock.
Absolutely. And, especially when someone dies so young, there's only certain number of things, like freak accident, certain things, and this appears to be one of those things. And with that 911 call, we got a little bit more details, because like when we first heard the news yesterday, it's like we just he just died, and we don't know, like we don't really like what led up to it. So now we got a little bit more details now, especially like coughing up blood. You can definitely
something was going on.
Speaking with if you speak with medical experts, I'm sure they would say like one thing can lead to another with that.
Yeah.
Get more of an explanation.
Yeah, it's sad, very sad. Young man, very talented young man, and a real thrill to watch over the years.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not a huge NASCAR fan, but I've definitely heard his name around, and his brother was also a driver, and he had won, and in reading about him, he'd won plenty of races here in Chicago at the racetrack down in Joliet, and he had most recently won a truck car series. So he was one of the most accomplished people in his craft.
Yeah.
And such a tragic loss. And of course, the Indy 500 community, with the race happening on Sunday, honoring him immensely.
Yeah, so accomplished at a young age. Thank you so much, Ethan. We really appreciate it. Is there anything else that you wanted to tell us about that you all have coming up that you're like really looking forward to putting in the newscast?
Yeah, so I have a fun story in the newscast. It was so there was in Colorado a woman, was searching for her dog. Her dog had disappeared, looking everywhere. She calls firefighters, and she gives them permission to basically tear down a large portion of her house. And they find the dog underneath the patio.
What? And how much of the house did they tear up looking for it to find it underneath the patio?
Oh, a lot. A lot of that house. They're going to need to do a lot of work to repair it. But the video is very sweet of when they find the dog, and the owner was crying. It was a Yorkie named Tank. Cute little thing.
Oh, Tank.
Poor little thing was stuck, and a happy reunion. The house can be repaired, but a bond between dog and owner can't really repair that as much. So
yeah, I would think that by the time you find the dog, a part of you is crying because you're so relieved that the dog is okay, and another part of you is crying at the cost of the damages that they just created.
I'm sure, but of course, first off would be the dog, and she held that dog on for dear life. I don't know if she'll ever leave that dog's side.
No, well, the love between a dog and their owner is something very, very special indeed. So great that they found Tank, and I'm sure looking forward to seeing that video in your newscast of how much damage they did looking for the little one.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Have a good weekend and a good show, okay?
Thank you, Anita.
All right. Take care. 3:42, everyone, and give us 2 minutes and we're going to get into our final discussion here for the week. We're going to talk about a very special event that's happening over this Memorial Day weekend to be able to help people who have fallen on hard times in our area. Welcome back, everyone. It's just about 3:45 right now, and with so many things that are happening this weekend, I want to tell you about the 10th anniversary of Mayfestiversary. We're going to clear all that up with Hagen Dost, the owner of Dovetail Brewery. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
When the Dovetail first came around, give me an idea of what you wanted from the Dovetail and how Mayfestiversary kind of tied in.
So way back when, my business partner Bill Westlink and I, we met in beer school, which is a real place, and it's the best school ever. And he and I are both certified master brewers, and what we wanted to do was start a place that made beers in using traditional methods, in the style that you'd find in these little family-run breweries in the middle of Bavaria. We got together. We met in beer school, like I said, and the name Dovetail refers to the dovetail joint. So we see this brewery as two brewers coming together to form a stronger brewery. Uh-huh. And what we were hoping for was to be able to, bring our love of this kind of beer to Chicago, but also to be a good member of the community, to be a good employer, just also, of course, never forget having fun with what we do, because we are, in the beer business.
Never forget to have fun with it all. And so, Mayfestiversary, from year 1 to year 10, how has it grown?
Year 1 was we do this in conjunction with our neighbor brewery, Big Isle Brewing, and year 1 was just this little like one day thing that was all hands on deck, and now and it was one little street closure between our two breweries. Now we've got Ravenswood Avenue and Belle Plaine Avenue between the two breweries closed off. We've got food trucks. We've got something like 14 bands. We've got about 40 different beers on tap between the two breweries, and we're doing it all for a good cause. Our 100% of our gate donation goes to an organization that fights hunger in our community. It's called the Friendship Center, and we to date we have raised enough money to provide 3.3 million meals to folks in our community.
Wow!
And we're shooting for 4 million by the end of this year, but everybody knows how much people are struggling, and we hope to be able to help people doing that. And it's a $5 donation, and it goes a really long way.
Yeah, I mean, how you all could have helped any organization. Why choose Friendship Center? What led you all to Friendship Center?
So we got to know them through our local Chamber of Commerce, and they've been around. I think they've been around for about 30 years now, and they've been doing great work in the neighborhood, and we saw such a need, and they're really good people. So that was really the motivating factor.
Mm-hmm. And what,
Anita, I'm going to take a quick sip of our 10th anniversary lager here.
Well, you said, you got to have fun amidst it all, so go right ahead. It's a Friday. It's almost 5 p.m. And so the $5, tell me what all people get from it. I mean, it's a $5 suggested donation, and then what do people get?
So you'll come in, you'll have you'll have bands on 2 stages. You'll have lots of places to sit and relax and enjoy the food from some of Chicago's best food trucks. You can at our little tent in our beer garden, you can get these excellent bratwurst from Beard and Belly up on the north side, and you get just a generally enjoyable time hanging out with friends, hanging out with family, meeting new people. It's a great fun time overall.
Well, Hagen, it sounds amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show to talk about it. And everyone, do people need to buy the? Well, I guess if they're giving a donation, do they need to like register in advance so you know how many people are coming?
No, not
Just
at all. Come one, come all, and you don't even have to have cash. You can pay through Venmo, electronic means. Let's say. It's come on and have a good time and support a good cause.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for what you're doing for the Friendship Center, and have fun.
We will. You're invited too. Come on down.
Well, only if you stop sipping and leave the rest.
There's plenty.
Take care. Cheers. 3:51, everyone. We'll be right back. Give us 2 minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to take a couple of minutes to just look at how the stock market ended the week. I think it's really important that we show you this picture, especially after how we started the week, because we were solidly in the red at the beginning of the week. But nice to know we bounced back quite nicely as the week ended, as you can see right here on your screen now. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gaining just a little over 290 94 points, or 0.58%. The S&P 500 rose 0.37%, and the NASDAQ Composite climbed 0.19% here today. So stocks rising. I'm seeing that the Treasury yields eased. So ultimately, it was a winning week for Wall Street, despite the volatility that we saw, especially at the beginning of the week. So on an overview kind of look, the S&P 500 advanced 0.9% over the week. This is the 8th straight winning week now. It's the longest weekly win streak since late 2023. The Dow rose 2.1% and posted its 3rd positive week in 4. The NASDAQ added 0.5%. That notched its 7th weekly advance in the past 8 weeks. So even when we see some dark days, some days where we only see red on the screen, the overall picture is not looking too bad. Now, of course, there are still some things that are causing volatility. Obviously, the war with Iran, the ceasefire that President Trump says is on life support, and we really haven't heard so much about this week. But in fact, today, a Qatari team allegedly flew into Tehran in coordination with the U.S. to help secure an agreement to end the conflict. That is according to Reuters. They are citing a source familiar with the matter. We'll see if anything comes from that, if there is an actual agreement to end the conflict. It's been very tough to come to that point, but maybe so. Also, let me tell you where oil is before we take another quick break here. So Brent crude is sitting at $103.54. We know a lot of people are getting on the road this weekend. The West Texas Intermediate crude setting at $96.60, and it's been a while. I know that's high, but it's been a while since it's been that low. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back to close out the show. Thanks so much for being here with us this week. We always appreciate having you here. Take a little time. We know there's a lot of events going on this weekend. We've cataloged some of them and highlighted some of them here. But make sure you take a little time to remember the real reason why we have Memorial Day weekend, and have our Gold Star families in your thoughts, and if you pray, your prayers as well. I won't be here on Monday. It'll be Lawrence Gaffiti and Tia Ewing.
Have a moment. Don't you love the way they want to get in our lane, but they don't want to say they're in our lane, so they try to do it differently, and everybody reads through it. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Enjoy the weekend.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
Another smash and grab caught on camera. We're going to show you how 4 people got away with an